I'll pretend to be your wife for shelter. The alien woman begged the human from door to door. Wind pushed hard along the rope walk. Signs clicked against basalt posts. Snow hissed across the planks and stung the face. Naylin kept moving because stopping meant losing feeling in her hands. She counted doors to stay focused. 3 refusals behind her. The 4th door had a brass pinecone knocker and a clean latch. She chose it because the wood looked maintained. Someone careful lived here. She raised the knocker. Her glove stuck to the metal for a second. She pulled free and listened. A bolt slid. The door opened to a man who filled the frame without blocking the light. He stood straight, close-cut dark hair, shoulders set like he knew where to put his weight in rough weather. He scanned the rope walk right, left, then looked at her face. No panic, no suspicion, just a quick assessment. "What do you need?" he asked. "Shelter," she said. Her throat burned from the cold air. "For tonight. I'll pretend to be your wife if that gets me inside." "No pretending," he said. "Come in." Heat met her in a plain, steady way. Cedar smoke, iron stove hiss, or fat and bread. She stepped onto the mat and closed the door with her shoulder. Her legs shook from tension, not weakness. He noticed and moved past her, set the bolt. His hands were nicked, but steady. "Boots off," he said. "Floor stays dry." She unlaced stiff leather and set the pair heel to heel. Her toes burned as blood came back. She did a quick scan. Hooks with wool coats, a bench near the stove, a shelf with a carved pine ring. The room looked like a place arranged for function. No clutter, no show. He hung her wet shawl and handed over a woven towel without staring. "I'm Arden." "Naylin," she said, "from Acroleth. Sit near the stove." He poured Ferlin seed coffee into 2 cups and put one on the warm side so it wouldn't scald. He set a plate with warm ridge boar slices and flatbread brushed with cedar oil. "Eat. It helps." She watched his hands before she took the food. He kept his palms open where she could see them. That reduced her pulse and gave her room to breathe. She ate because fuel makes decisions clearer. Salt, heat, fat. The coffee smelled like wet earth and pulled the fog from her head. Outside, a group crossed the rope walk and laughed too loud. Her shoulders rose before she could stop it. Arden shifted so the door sat behind his left shoulder and the room felt guarded. "You can wash at the basin," he said. "I'll mind the door." "Do you trust me here?" she asked. "I trust what I can measure," he said. "You knocked. You didn't pry the latch. That tells me enough for tonight." She took the towel and moved to the basin. He turned away and fixed a draft at the window. She washed fast. The water steamed. Feeling returned to her fingers in sharp pulses. She wrung her hair into the basin. Long white strands fell heavy down her back. Orange skin flushed back from numb. She studied him while she dried. He worked the window cloth into the gap with small, exact motions. No waste. On his forearm, an old service scar. In his posture, the calm of someone trained to stay steady around pain. He said nothing about it, which told her more than a speech would. "Why did you open?" she asked. "Because it was my door," he said, "and because the ridge forgets what winter does to people." "What do you do?" she asked. "Inventory for the wind silo cooperatives," he said. "I wrote medical reports years back in the Bordigales. Now I keep tallies and stop bad stacking before it kills someone." That answered her next question before she asked it. He was not looking for a story. He was used to triage. He handled problems in the order they threatened the room. Right now, the problems were cold, food, and safety. "My work was district mapping," she said. "Acroleth valleys. After the lodge closed, the line went dead. I took the ridge path. I need a base. A week. Maybe 2. I can pay in labor." "Work you know?" he asked. "Knots, net mins, load checks," she said. "Enough to carry my weight." He nodded once. She recognized the nod of a man who puts new load on a tested beam and listens for noise. "No noise yet. People will assume things if I stay," she said. "People assume to save time," he said. "They can spend it elsewhere." She chose then. The decision landed clean. Survival needed shelter, not performance. Dignity needed truth, not a story that would rot in her mouth. "I want your bed tonight," she said. "Not as payment. Because I want heat in you. If you don't want that, I'll take the bench." He held her eyes. Attraction was there, strong and open, but checked by discipline. "Then we set terms," he said. We stop if you say stop. We use words. No guessing. Agreed, she said. Her voice stayed calm because the choice was hers. He dimmed the lamp by the door and left the stove on a low feed. He offered his hand, not his arm. She put her palm to his and felt the callous ridge from rope work. The simple contact steadied her. Her thoughts lined up. Safe door, clear rules, shared choice. Boot steps rattled the rope walk. A neighbor's knock sounded 2 doors down. Someone muttered about outsiders. Arden didn't flinch. He watched the latch until the noise passed. That told her how he handled pressure. He confirmed safety with his eyes before moving. Tomorrow we get bread early, he said. The square gossips less with food in its mouth. Tomorrow, she said. The word felt solid. He led her down the short hall. The room held a clean bed, a pine pattern wool cover, a shelf with a single candle. No shrine, no trophies. He faced her with his hand still, his breathing even. He waited for a signal, like a trained medic waiting for consent to set a bone. She stepped forward first and touched his jaw with the back of her fingers to test for tension. Warm, steady. He kissed her. Slow, clear, no rush to prove anything. His palms settled at her spine. Her body answered with a direct pull, not panic. She untied the wet halter and did not hide. He looked at her like a person, not a problem to solve. She wanted that look more than heat. They learned pace by breath. They spoke when angle or pressure needed a word. No performance. No script. Hands asked and waited. When she pressed his wrist to stop, he stopped. When she pulled him closer, he moved. The bed creaked. The stove ticked. Wind combed the snow catchers and then faded under the sound of their breathing. What they did remained private, but it was not coy. It was 2 adults making a clear choice and following it through with care. After, the room held clean air and body heat. Her pulse eased from hard thud to calm rhythm. She watched the window fog and listened to the stove cycle. Fear receded. Hunger shifted from survival to something human. She lay on her side and studied him in the low light. Thank you for not making this a debt, she said. I don't run a ledger on people, he said. Only on rope and grain. She smiled once, small and real. It surprised her that it came easy. She had not planned for that. Why are you here? He asked. And this time he meant the ridge, not the house. My line collapsed when the lodge shut, she said. I came up for work and to check the western markers before thaw. If we lose them, the valley claims turn to guesswork. My mission is simple. Fix the markers. Send coordinates. Find a stable roof while I do it. He nodded. That I can help with. I know whose roofs leak and whose books lie. And you, she asked. Your mission? Keep the cooperatives honest, he said. Keep the load safe. Keep my door a place I don't regret opening. It was a plain answer. It fit him. She pulled the wool cover to her waist and felt the weight settle her. The heat of his body at her back did the rest. She let her eyes close because the door was bolted, the rules were clear, and the world outside could wait until morning. Inside, the stove clicked once. The house held steady. She slept without bracing for footsteps. Brief background and purpose. Arden Hale, former scout medic from the Border Gales, now the Wind Silo Cooperative's inventory, lead in Kireth Vale. He lived alone by choice and keeps a strict, simple home. His purpose is practical. Prevent accidents, block petty abuses, and maintain a door he can open without fear or shame. Naylan of Acroleth, former district mapper and field runner from the Acroleth Valleys. After her lodge shut and communications failed, she took the ridge path to secure short-term work and verify western boundary markers before thaw. Her purpose is survival with dignity, paid labor over dependency, and accurate coordinates that keep her people's claims intact. Why they are here, now. Winter pressure forced Naylan into the Ridge City to finish boundary checks and find a roof long enough to do the job. Arden's post keeps him on the ridge through winter audits. Their paths meet at his door because the city's refusals left her with one option: ask. His training and principles made his answer simple. Open, set terms, protect, and decide together. Their shared mission after this night: shelter first, bread in the morning, then a clear plan, Naylan's marker survey with Arden's logistical support and local maps, plus a quiet strategy for handling ridge scrutiny without theater. They will act like a pair by choice, not performance, and they will defend that choice in ordinary, public ways. Gray morning light pressed through the small window before the stove finished its first cycle. The house held the mixed scent of cedar smoke, warm wool, and skin still cooling from the night. Nayland woke first. For a few seconds, confusion tightened her chest. New ceiling, new walls, no map of exits. But then the weight of Arden's arm across her waist anchored everything in place. Her pulse slowed. She remembered where she was, why she had chosen to stay, and what she had promised. He was already watching her, eyes alert, even half asleep. That told her more about his past than any uniform patch. He checked her expression before moving his arm away, giving her room to stretch. "How's the shoulder?" she asked, noticing the faint stiffness when he shifted. "Old service drain," he said. "Cold makes it loud. It quiets once I'm working." She sat up, pulling the wool cover with her. His shirt hung loose over her shoulders, sliding to reveal a line of orange skin marked by yesterday's cold. He didn't stare, but he noticed everything. She liked that about him. "You sleep here long?" she asked. "5 winters," he said. "I stopped counting when it stopped feeling temporary." "Who did you live with before?" she asked. She didn't mean to pry, but the question was the next logical marker on the line of his life. Crew housing, rotating bunks, too many ghosts talking in their sleep. He paused. "Here, everything stays quiet unless I ask it to speak." That sounded like a man extracting himself from memories that pulled too hard. She didn't push. He didn't retreat. He stood and stretched once, calm and economical. "We need bread," he said, "and a few days' supplies. You'll want your mapping kit sorted too." She searched his tone for any shift after last night. Awkwardness, ownership, regret. None. Plain continuity. That steadiness was unexpectedly relieving. While he dressed, she folded the blanket and smoothed the cover with care. Order made mornings easier. Her internal tension lessened. At the basin, she splashed cold water on her face. Arden set a fresh towel within reach. Thoughtful, without comment. She met her reflection in the iron plate above the basin. Eyes clearer, skin less drawn. The night had given her back a part of herself she thought winter had buried. "Your mission," Arden said as he strapped his boots. "The western boundary markers. How many fail?" "At least 4, she said. "Probably more beneath the ice. If the coordinates drift, the ridge could claim valley land by accident. Or convenience. Convenience happens a lot when nobody checks the math," he said. She looked at him over the towel. That sentence told her exactly why he lived alone. They stepped outside. Daylight hit sharp. Ridge winds shoved cold across the walk. Frost clung to rope rails. Market stalls were opening, loaves stacked high, steam rising off Drax and mushroom pans, a butcher cleaving ridge boar with practice strikes. People noticed them. Some paused too long. Some whispered. A pair of women angled their heads together, eyes cutting to Nayland's white hair and orange skin. Nayland kept her chin level. She had chosen visibility. Now she held the line. Arden didn't grip her hand or perform affection for them. He simply stood close enough that every glance had to consider him too. At the bread stall, the shopkeeper's mouth curled downward before any words left. "You're up early," she said to Arden, not acknowledging Nayland. "Bread and 2 smoked elk wraps," Arden said. "And don't pretend you're out of jam this time." The woman hesitated, then handed over the food because refusing him would start a conversation she could not win. Nayland kept her eyes forward, but her jaw set hard. "Is it always like this?" she asked once they walked away. "No," Arden said. "Sometimes it's worse." That earned a small laugh from her, short but real. Humor helped cut the sting of truth. At the supply yard, Arden unlocked a wooden shed marked with district symbols. Inside were coils of rope, sealed map cases, a cold weather pack. He handed her one engraved tube. "Your maps. Updated last month," she said. She checked the seal. Intact. "Good. I need survey tags and a new compass." Mine froze on the ridge climb. Arden pulled a box from a high shelf. "Take what you need. If we fix markers today, we get ahead of the thaw." "We," she repeated. "You said you needed a steady roof." "Roof comes with help," he said. "I'll carry loads." Watch your 6. Check the weather line. You handle coordinates. She closed her hand around the compass he gave her. The metal was warm from his grip. The offer sounded simple, but she understood the weight. He was stepping into her mission, not dragging her into his. A shadow crossed the doorway. The functionary from yesterday, the ledger man, held his book like a shield. You plan to range together, he said to Arden. Mixed teams require registry approval. Arden didn't give ground. Show me the rule. The man flipped pages. His lips pressed tight. Nothing there. Arden waited until the silence grew uncomfortable. Didn't think so, Arden said. If you're done, the door swings outward. The functionary stepped back fast enough that snow crunched under his heel. He left without a final word. Nayland watched him go. You didn't have to handle that, she said. I know, Arden replied. I wanted to. That landed warmer than the coffee. They hiked toward the western outpost. Snow thinned under the sun. Fir branches dropped meltwater like scattered ticks of a clock. Nayland walked ahead, sure-footed on rope and plank. Arden tracked weather and terrain, quiet but fully aware. What did the border gales take from you? She asked suddenly, eyes still forward. He didn't flinch. People, he said. Then purpose. I'm building both again at my pace. She nodded. That was a better answer than silence. And you, he asked. What did Akroleth take from you? Trust, she said. Not in others. In comfort. It disappears too fast. Then we build that too, he said. She stopped, turned, looked at him long enough to confirm the promise wasn't accidental. Last night, she said quietly. You're not regretting it. Are you, he asked. No, she said. I'm not used to feeling like the choice was mine. It was, he said. It still is. She stepped close and pressed her forehead to his for one calm second. Not a kiss, a check-in. She felt his breath steady and controlled. He felt her pulse easing. We work now, she said. We work, he agreed. They moved onward. Two people aligned not by tradition, but by decision. Rope underfoot, cold in their lungs. A boundary ahead that needed setting straight. Behind them, the ridge watched. Ahead of them, the valley waited to see if they could finish what winter tried to break. And somewhere between those two pressures, they walked side by side, ready to face the day they had already reshaped. Snow thinned as they moved westward along the ridge trail. Fir trees grew taller here, their trunks dark and straight like guard lines. Meltwater dripped steadily, marking the slow approach of spring. The air smelled cleaner, less smoke, more pine. Underneath that freshness, Nayland's nerves still hummed. She wasn't afraid of terrain. She was afraid of returning to a place and finding her past erased. Arden watched her carefully, not with suspicion, but with the sharp attention of someone who had seen small things turn dangerous fast. He adjusted his pace to keep close without crowding. When the rope path narrowed at a broken section, he placed his boot firmly and tested each plank before she stepped. You've done this before, she said. Recon runs, he answered. Border gales weren't known for friendly roads. You miss it, she asked. I miss the clarity, he said. Orders were simple. People weren't. Nayland nodded. She understood too well. Survival was easy. Living was the hard part. They reached the first marker, a metal post half hidden under slush. The coordinate plate was cracked, numbers warped. She crouched, brushing away ice. This one drifted 10 units east, she said. If no one adjusts it, the ridge claims more grazing land. And the valleys lose what little they have, Arden said. He didn't question her calculations. He accepted them like a fact of nature. She felt something loosen inside her. Relief. She unrolled a portable grid and clipped it to the post. The scanner beeped faintly. Arden stood watch, arms crossed, eyes scanning treeline and rope walk. You're good at this, he said. I had to be, she replied. When valley borders collapse, the first ones starving are the children. I grew up watching that line move closer every year. Arden's jaw tightened. She noticed. The conversation wasn't just information. He was building a map of her life in his head, detail by detail, until he understood not just what she did, but why. She finished marking the new coordinate. He lifted the post while she hammered the brace back into place. The simple teamwork felt strange, natural, and new at the same time. When they stood up, The wind carried voices from farther down the path. 2 ridge workers approached carrying crates. Both slowed when they recognized Nalen's skin and hair. One whispered something the other liked too much. Arden shifted slightly forward. Not aggressive, just there. Problem, he asked. No, the older worker said quickly. Just passing. Nalen stared at them until they looked away. They moved on. When their footsteps faded, she exhaled a tight breath she'd been holding in her ribs. That will keep happening, she said. Arden shrugged once. They'll get bored. We won't. He offered water. She drank. His presence beside her steadied the world. They continued to the second marker, farther down near a collapsed bridge. Nalen climbed down first. The rope ladder swayed in the wind. Arden followed a few rungs behind, his hand ready but not interfering. This marker, buried deep under snow, had failed entirely. She dug with her gloves until metal showed. The plate was clean, but the anchor bolts were loose. As she worked, Arden knelt beside her. His sleeve brushed her arm once. She didn't pull away. The closeness felt earned. Why did your lodge close? He asked, voice quieter. She paused. That question pressed directly on the wound. Budget cuts, she said, and fear. People didn't want to pay for boundaries that didn't protect them directly. They wanted walls, not measurements. He nodded slowly. That's how accidents turn into disasters. She tightened a bolt. Or how people get forgotten. Arden's hand hovered over her back. Not touching, just offering. She leaned slightly into it, making the decision obvious. His palm settled there, firm and warm. It was a small contact. It meant a lot. While she set the last bolt, Arden looked down the chasm. How many markers in total? 8 along this stretch, she said. 4 here. 4 southward. We'll finish the 4 today, he said. We return before dark. I don't let a ridge decide when we stop. That level of certainty made her throat tighten. He wasn't just helping. He was committing. They ate smoked elk wraps sitting on a fallen beam. She watched his hands again. How he checked the food packet, how he made sure she ate first, how he listened without filling silence with useless talk. Last night, he said, after a moment, you didn't ask me what I wanted from it. I assumed you wanted the same thing I did, she said. Which was, he asked. To feel safe with someone, she replied. Not owned, not pitted, just chosen. He turned that over like a man inspecting a tool before using it. Then let's make a rule. She raised an eyebrow. If either of us starts feeling like we're owed, he said, we say something. And we stop. Straightforward. She didn't expect a rule that clean. It hit harder than a declaration would have. That works, she said. He didn't touch her then. He didn't need to. The rule itself was intimacy. They moved to the 3rd marker as clouds thickened overhead. On the ridge, weather changed without warning. Arden checked the sky, already calculating a faster return route. When this is done and the lines hold, he asked, what then? She looked at him. Honest. Direct. I haven't thought past survival, she said. Not until yesterday. He held her gaze without blinking. Good. Then we'll think forward together. Her heart stuttered. One beat pressed against ribs harder than normal. It wasn't fear. It was the shock of hope. Wind rose. A signal that daylight was slipping. Arden finished tightening the last brace. 3 down, he said. We head back. Nalen double-checked the coordinates. Arden, she said. He turned. We make it to spring, she said. I want the breath mark to mean more than winter. He didn't smile, but his eyes did. Small shift, very real. We'll get to spring, he said. They started the return. The ridge ahead was cold and loud and still too interested in them, but Nalen walked easier. Arden kept pace beside her, boots firm on the rope walk. The markers were standing again. So were they. The return to the ridge took longer than expected. Wind pushed from the west, heavier than the morning, and the rope walks groaned under sudden gusts. Nalen kept her weight balanced forward. Arden stayed close enough that if a plank failed, his hand could reach her first. By the time they reached the outer bridge, the sun sat lower than it should. The weather had shifted faster than Arden had predicted. He didn't like that. His jaw tightened once before he spoke. We move straight home, he said. No stops. The cold will hit fast. Nalen nodded and stepped carefully. Even with 3 markers restored, the ridge wouldn't celebrate. Most eyes here assumed failure, before progress. But Arden's hand hovered at her back, and that made every step feel steadier. When they reached his door, he checked the rope rails once more, a habit she now recognized as routine vigilance rather than worry. Inside, he lit the lamp and fed the stove before removing his coat. He didn't speak until the room warmed. "You did good work," he said. Plain words, clear respect. "Teamwork," she replied. That earned a subtle reaction. His shoulders dropped a fraction, tension easing. He wasn't used to being part of a team that chose him back. Nayland peeled off her damp gloves. The skin on her knuckles was cracked. Arden noticed and disappeared into the small washroom without explanation. He returned with a tin of salve from a bottom shelf, the label worn. "Cedar honey mix," he said. "Keeps the cold from tearing skin." He set the tin in her open palm. Touch brief, gentle, a moment too small to name, but too warm to ignore. She rubbed the salve into her skin. It stung first, then soothed. He watched carefully, as if monitoring a patient's reaction, old medic instincts surfacing without permission. "Do you regret leaving the field?" she asked. "No," he answered immediately. "I regret the ones I couldn't carry out." Silence settled, not uncomfortable, just honest. Nayland sat by the stove and let the heat sink into her shoulders. Her body felt heavy from exertion, but her chest felt light. She had shared a mission today, shared physical risk, shared decisions. That kind of connection heals deeper than blankets and coffee. Arden placed 2 plates on the table. Ridge boar slices reheated in cedar oil, flatbread crisped against the stove, and a small dish of dried Zyron fruit he had rationed like a man who understood scarcity. "This isn't charity," he said before she could thank him. "You're working. We eat." She smirked. "You don't like thank yous?" "They make things uneven," he said. "We're even." They ate with the quiet comfort of people who had earned hunger. The food settled the shivers still hiding beneath Nayland's skin. By the time they finished, the wind outside had risen into a full night howl. Arden poured a cup of warm lar nectar for each of them. Nayland wrapped her hands around the cup, feeling the heat seep into her palms. "You didn't ask about my past beyond the lodge," she said. "I figured you'd tell me what mattered when it mattered," he replied. "It matters now," she said. "I left Akroleth because I had a partner there. We worked the boundary lines together. When the lodge shut down, he left first. He said he'd send for me once he secured a job here." Arden's jaw set in a way she recognized. Anger held still, waiting for facts. "He never came," she said. "I reached the ridge, and he was already living with someone else. Someone with registry papers. Someone who looked more acceptable." Arden didn't respond quickly. He chose his words. "That's not on you," he said. "Some people choose the easy story instead of the true one." Nayland swallowed once. The memory burned less than her pride expected. That surprised her. "You didn't try to find him?" Arden asked carefully, to demand answers. "No," she said. "I wanted to survive, not beg." Arden nodded once. "Good choice." The wind outside slammed something against a distant railing. Arden checked the window automatically. No threat, just weather. But Nayland noticed. He checks because his body remembers danger, even when his mind knows safety. She stood and walked closer to him, drawn by that steadiness. She touched his shoulder where old pain lived. "You took care of me out there today." He looked at her hand first, then at her eyes. "You did the same." She moved nearer, slow enough that he could stop her, and watch his expression tighten, not in fear, but restraint. "You're thinking too much," she said. "I like thinking," he replied. "And I like what we did last night," she answered, voice low but steady. "I want that again, but with one change." He raised an eyebrow, listening. "This time," she said, "I want you to want it openly. Not carefully, not halfway." His breath hitched once, a rare slip in control. Then he stood and stepped close enough that her chest brushed his. His hand slid to her waist and stopped there, open and patient. "Then show me how," he said. There was no hesitation after that. They moved with the earned confidence of 2 people who had already tested trust in daylight. She pressed her hands to his chest and guided him back toward the bed. He followed without resistance, but not without presence. Eyes locked on hers, attention exact. Clothes fell away with no rush, only purpose. Heat rose between them, deeper than last night, because the choice felt bigger now. Less survival, more desire. When their bodies came together, it was slow, controlled, and fully mutual. They spoke when needed, a yes, a softer, a there, and listened for every answer. When they finished, breath heavy and hearts unguarded, Nayland rested her head on Arden's arm. He brushed a stray strand of white hair from her cheek and didn't look away. "You're safe here," he said quietly. She believed him, completely. That was the most dangerous feeling of all, and she welcomed it. Before sleep took her, she whispered the one fear still hiding in her chest. "If the ridge refuses a mixed pair," she asked, "what then?" Arden didn't blink. "Then the ridge learns it doesn't get to decide for us." His hand stayed on her back until her breathing slowed and the wind outside became just weather again. The markers were holding. The house was warm, and for the first time in a long time, future felt possible. The next morning arrived quieter than expected. The storm had moved east during the night, leaving the ridge coated in a clean, hard frost. Sunlight bounced off timber rails and rope lines, a sharp brightness that made every shadow look deeper. Nayland woke first. Arden's arm was around her again, same steady hold as if he guarded her even in his sleep. She watched him breathe for a moment, studying how calm replaced the tension he carried everywhere else. In sleep, he looked younger, less armored, more human. A small fear nudged her. What if warmth makes me want more than survival? She eased out of bed, grabbed his shirt again, and padded to the basin. Her muscles ached from the climb and from him, but the ache felt earned. She washed her face, cold water snapping her fully awake. Arden stirred. He sat up, rubbed a hand over his face, then looked at her. No surprise, no regret, just recognition. "You sleep well?" he asked. "Well enough to want breakfast," she said. He smirked, a quick lift at the corner of his mouth that seemed rare for him. "Good. Eat first. Talk after." While he prepared food, ridge boar strips reheated crisp, flatbread steamed soft. She organized the mapping tubes and tools they needed. She checked the straps twice. Important work required precision. He noticed. "You double-check everything," he said. "I learned the cost of mistakes early," she replied. His eyes sharpened with interest. "How early?" She hesitated. The truth wasn't pretty, but he had earned honesty. "My father trusted a faulty line," she said. "We lost 2 fields and half a herd in one winter. He died believing the map was right." Arden set the knife down. "I'm sorry. He taught me one thing," she said. "Check it yourself." Arden nodded. That was a language he understood. Personal history told through scars, not speeches. After breakfast, they dressed and prepared for the trail. Nayland strapped her mapping kit to her back. Arden carried a coil of secure line and a small tool bag. He studied the sky the entire time. "Cloud lines rising too fast," he said. "Weather wants to turn again." "How far is the 4th marker?" she asked. "Close," he said. "But the ridge will be watching us today." He wasn't wrong. When they stepped outside, several neighbors stood along the walkway, pretending to fix signs or shake out rugs. Eyes followed. Whispers chased them like cold drafts. Nayland felt tension climb her spine. Arden noticed instantly. "If anyone speaks to you," he said low, "let me handle it." "Not because I can't," she replied. "No," he said, "because you shouldn't have to." That distinction made her throat tighten again. They moved toward the Western Trail. Snow cracked underfoot. Fir branches dripped meltwater in slow, heavy drops. After we finished the 4th marker, Arden said, "We'll check your old mapping line next. Make sure nothing threatens the valleys." "You're committing a lot of time for someone you barely know," she said. Arden slowed just enough to face her directly. "You came here alone," he said. "You fought for a roof without begging. You worked without complaint. And you chose me last night because you wanted to, not because you were desperate." He held her gaze. "That's enough to know who you are." She inhaled once deep. "And who are you, Arden?" "A man who's tired of being useful instead of wanted," he said. "You make me feel like the latter." Her chest warmed fast, heat stronger than any stove. Before she could answer, a voice called from the ridge path behind them. The functionary, ledger in hand again, his tone louder today, fueled by an audience. "Arden Hale," he said. "There's a notice regarding your companion." Nayland stiffened. Arden stepped half a pace forward. "What notice?" Arden asked. The man flipped the ledger with a flourish. "Unregistered outsiders staying overnight require validation or removal." Several watchers nodded, eager for drama. Nayland's stomach clenched. This was what she feared. Forced separation disguised as procedure. Arden didn't raise his voice, didn't step closer. Instead, he said one sentence that changed the air. "She's not an outsider." The functionary frowned. "Her district mark says otherwise." "My word says otherwise," Arden replied. "My home, my roof, my responsibility. Write that in your ledger." People murmured, uneasy, unsure. Nayland watched the functionary's face twist. He wanted authority. Arden denied him the stage. "We're fixing your boundaries," Arden added. "Unless you'd prefer the ridge lose half its grazing range. Which should I write as the complaint you take to the board?" The man's jaw worked. He turned the ledger, closed sharply, and stepped aside. No apology. No victory declared. But he retreated. Arden looked at Nayland. "You good?" She nodded. But emotion pressed hard behind her ribs. Fear, relief, and something deeper. "You didn't have to put yourself between us," she said. Arden reached out and adjusted her shawl against the wind. "That's where I stand now," he said. "Between you and anyone who thinks you don't belong." Her breath caught. "Nayland," he added quietly, "I don't pretend things to make the ridge comfortable. I choose them." She swallowed. "And you choose me." "Every time," he said. She stepped close enough that the watchers could see, and rested her hand on his chest. Clear, public, unashamed. Arden's eyes softened, and he kissed her, slow, steady, just long enough to silence every whisper on the rope walk. They turned toward the trail again. No one blocked them this time. The fourth boundary marker awaited. The ridge had been warned, and Nayland realized something new. Survival brought her to this door. But love, quiet, fierce love, was what would keep her here. The fourth marker stood near the drop-off where ridge rails ended, and the land fell sharply into a maze of fir trees and frozen creek beds. The wind cut across this section harder than anywhere else. Conversation required leaning close to hear anything at all. Nayland braced her boots against the exposed rock, while Arden secured a rope line between two timber posts. "Hold there," he said, checking the tension. "If the ground gives, the rope buys time." She nodded. Fear didn't hit all at once. It crept along her spine in small jolts. The marker's anchor bolts were nearly frozen solid, but Arden knelt beside her and worked the metal with short, controlled motions. They moved like a trained team, barely needing words. "We finished this," he said over the wind, "and the western side holds for another season. And the valleys keep their land," she replied. He looked up briefly. "You've carried that burden alone for too long." She wanted to argue. Instead, she tightened the last bolt with two hard turns. The marker set firm. Arden ran his glove along the post. "Marker holds." Relief slid through her like warmth from inside the ribs. One big threat down. "Stand back," he said, rising to check the path behind them. Nayland's foot slipped on a hidden patch of ice. For one terrifying second, her weight went backward toward the chasm. The world tilted. Her breath jammed in her throat. Arden's hand locked around her arm. He dragged her forward with fast, decisive force, pulling her into his chest. He didn't let go until both her boots were solid on rock again. She stayed against him, chest heaving, heart hammering so hard she thought he must feel it. He pressed his forehead to hers, grounding her. "You're here," he said. Not dramatic, just a fact. She gripped his coat to prove it. "I had it," she muttered, but her voice shook. "You don't have to," he replied. The rope line rattled violently in the gusts. Without letting go of her arm, he guided them both toward safer ground. When they reached the rails, she forced herself to breathe slow again. "Thank you," she said. He shook his head once. "That's not a debt either." Her fingers slid down his wrist and squeezed. He didn't pull away. They started the walk back. Snow came in light flurries now, harmless compared to the earlier wind. The ridge looked smaller in the distance, a cluster of timber ribs and rope walks clinging to the mountain spine. "I need one answer," Arden said as they moved. Your mapping mission ends soon. What then? Nayland felt the truth rise before fear could block it. I want to stay, she said. But staying here means being seen as your partner, not a guest. And if the ridge pushes back, he asked. I push with you, she said without hesitation. Arden didn't slow, but his shoulders shifted. A weight he'd carried for years lifted one notch. When they reached the first outer rail, a ridge patrolman stood waiting. Not the ledger man, a different trouble. Blue sash, duty badge. His expression dead serious. Hail, the patrolman said. Need a word. Arden positioned slightly ahead of Nayland without making it obvious. Protective instinct, not ownership. Speak, Arden said. There was a complaint, the patrolman said. Alleged misuse of housing. Claims you're harboring someone without authorization. Nayland's stomach turned. They weren't even home yet. Arden didn't blink. Who filed it? Anonymous, the patrolman said. Cowardly, Arden answered. The patrolman exhaled through his nose. I'm not here to throw her off your doorstep, but procedures exist. By end of week, present either a pair registration in progress or a formal work arrangement filed with the cooperative. Nayland felt heat rush to her face. They were giving her a deadline to justify existing. Arden's voice went flat. Too calm. Dangerous calm. She works, he said. Boundary markers are fixed because of her. That benefits this ridge. I know, the patrolman said quietly. And so does the board. That's why you're getting time. But people are uncomfortable. And uncomfortable people write reports. He looked at Nayland then. His gaze wasn't cruel. If anything, he looked ashamed to deliver the message. Nayland took one step forward, steady. Then I'll file the work papers, she said. Today, Arden glanced at her. She nodded once. I choose this. Not being forced. Choosing. The patrolman gave a brief salute and headed back up the rope walk. Snow crunched under each step. Nayland waited until he was out of earshot. What if the board rejects the papers? She asked quietly. Then what? Arden stood in front of her and cupped her face with both hands, thumbs warm against her skin. We fight, he said. Not from fear. From certainty. She breathed easier. And if fighting isn't enough, she asked. Then we stay anyway, he said, because this is our house, not theirs. She closed her eyes for one long second, absorbing the certainty he offered so easily. Every decision she had made in the last week had been survival-driven. This one felt like living. As they walked back toward his home, Nayland's fingers brushed against Arden's. He took her hand fully, openly, in front of everyone watching from windows. It wasn't for show. It was a declaration. They were building something here. Not temporary shelter. A life. And the ridge would have to learn to accept it. The board office sat near the center of the ridge. Wide double doors, thick beams, cold stone floor. Inside, air carried the smell of ink and old paperwork. 3 officials sat behind a long desk. The patrolman from earlier, a gray-haired woman who looked like she had been part of the ridge since its foundation, and the ledger man, already irritated that Arden and Nayland had returned on their own terms. Arden held Nayland's hand as they entered. Not possessive, steady, a reminder that whatever happened, they faced it together. The gray-haired woman spoke first. Name and purpose. Nayland of Akroleth, Nayland said. Field mapper. Presenting formal work arrangement supporting boundary line restoration. Her voice was firm. No tremor. She'd chosen strength before fear could speak. The patrolman nodded once, already familiar with the case. The ledger man flipped pages with exaggerated annoyance. And your sponsor? He asked sharply. Arden didn't move an inch. Arden Hale, cooperative inventory lead. Field support and housing provided. The woman tapped the desk. You slept under his roof? Yes. Nayland answered before Arden could. By choice. For shelter, for work, and because we are bonded. The room tensed. The ledger man smirked as if expecting her to stutter or backpedal. She didn't blink. You filed a complaint, Arden said to him. Not a question, a statement. The ledger man's jaw twitched. He didn't deny it. Nayland's gaze stayed on the board. The ridge doesn't lose anything by allowing me to stay. It gains secure borders and fewer future disputes with the valleys. And I refuse to stand in snow and ask for permission to survive. The patrolman suppressed a hint of respect. The older woman leaned back, studying both of them quietly. "You understand what a public bond means here," she said to Nayland. "If you claim him and he claims you, the Ridge will treat you as one household. That includes judgment, praise, and consequences." Nayland's pulse beat fast in her wrists, but she didn't look away. "I understand." The woman turned to Arden. "And you risk reputation and influence by choosing a partner from outside the Ridge Council's comfort." Arden's response came without hesitation. "The Council's comfort isn't my priority. She is." The words fell hard in the room. Simple, powerful, true. Silence stretched. Snow tapped against the shuttered windows. The ledger man sputtered, "This is highly." The older woman raised a hand, and he fell silent. She stamped the document with a solid thud. "Work arrangement approved. Review in 60 days. If all markers hold and no violations arise, her standing becomes permanent." Nayland's knees almost softened with relief. Not complete safety, but a real chance. The patrolman met her eyes. "Welcome to Kareth Vale." It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold either. For now, it was enough. Outside, Arden let out a slow breath he'd held through the entire meeting. Nayland leaned against the railing for a second, steadying nerves and adrenaline. "You were ready to challenge them if they said no," she said. "I still am," he replied. Snowflakes drifted in calm spirals now, as if the storm had passed just for them. People watched from their windows again, but not with the same sharp suspicion as days before. Curiosity had replaced judgment, maybe even reluctant respect. Arden touched the carved pine breathmark ring at her neck. "When spring comes," he said, "we turn this bond into a registry entry. Not because they demand it, because we do." She felt heat climb her chest, warm and full. "I want that, but only if you're sure." He stepped in closer until his forehead pressed gently to hers. "I've never been more sure of anything." Their breath mixed in the cold. A quiet promise, we stay. They returned home through a calmer ridge. In Arden's house, she set her mapping tubes in their place and removed her boots with slow, tired motions. Arden lit a second lamp, soft amber filling the space. "This house looked temporary when I arrived," she said. "Now it feels like walls that can hold a future." "It can," Arden said. "It will." She turned toward him, suddenly overwhelmed, not just by safety, but by the fact that home was no longer a distant idea. It stood right here with him. She stepped closer and placed her hands on his shoulders. "We fought today," she said. "Together. That changes things." "It confirms things," he replied. They moved toward each other like two people who no longer feared what closeness could break, because now they knew what it could build. His hand found the small of her back. She lifted her chin. Their kiss was deeper than the night before. Not hurried. Claimed. Clothing came away with calm urgency. Mutual and certain. The bed waited only a few steps away, but neither rushed. Every touch felt like proof. "You belong here with me." In the low lamplight, they discovered each other again slowly, learning every reaction, every sign of pleasure, every line drawn and respected. There was no performance, no survival instinct left in the room, just trust solidifying into desire. When they finally settled together afterward, breath steady, skin warm, Nayland rested her head on his chest. His heart beat calm and sure beneath her ear. "We made it through their scrutiny," she whispered. "We'll make it through everything else, too." Arden kissed the top of her head once, deliberate and soft. "Tomorrow," he said, "we check the southern markers." "And long after that," she replied, eyes closing, "we build spring." He held her as sleep came for both of them, his hand resting over her stomach without thinking. Protective, hopeful, already imagining the life that could grow from this bond. Outside, the ridge was quiet. Inside, their future had already begun. Morning light filtered into the room, warmer than the last few days. Snow no longer hammered the ridge. It sat calmly on rails and rooftops like a blanket that had decided to rest instead of threaten. Nayland woke with her cheek on Arden's chest, listening to the steady beat beneath her ear. A rhythm she trusted now. A rhythm she wanted in every morning ahead. Arden's hand rested lightly over her stomach again. Same place as last night, same instinct. She placed her fingers over his and pressed gently. "You keep doing that," she said, voice husky with sleep. His eyes opened immediately, alert as always. "Doing what?" "Protecting something that doesn't exist yet," she said. Arden looked at her hand over his. "Maybe I hope it will." Her throat tightened, but not from fear. "I hope so too." They didn't rush out of bed. For the first time since she'd come to the ridge, there was no emergency knocking at the door, no deadline swinging above their heads. They had secured her place. The board had acknowledged their bond. The ridge knew who they were together. A future wasn't a dream anymore. It was a plan. When they stepped outside, the ridge looked different. Still rough, still cold, still full of people with too many opinions, but something had shifted. Doors were open, merchants already working, and eyes watching them didn't hold the same sharpness as before. A bread seller, the same woman who had interrogated them days earlier, stared at Nayland for a long second. Then she silently set a warm loaf on the counter and pushed it forward. "Glaze is extra," she muttered, cheeks pink. "But you'll want it for the walk." Arden paid without comment, but Nayland saw the small courtesy hidden inside the curt voice. Acceptance rarely looked like applause. Sometimes it looked like a loaf with glaze and a woman pretending she didn't care. Near the square, the patrolman who supported them earlier tipped his chin to Arden. Not a greeting, not quite respect, but acknowledgement. It mattered. Arden carried the bread under one arm and kept his free hand ready for Nayland. She didn't need support to walk, yet she still took his hand. Not for balance, for connection. "How many southern markers are NAST?" "4," she said. "2 are likely intact. The others need full replacement." "Then we'll replace them," he said. "Better ones." She stopped and turned to face him fully. "No," she said. "We'll build better ones." That correction made his eyes soften in a way she rarely saw. "You're sure about staying?" he asked. "I'm sure," she said. "And we don't wait for spring to say it. We decide now. Today." Arden nodded once, his version of a vow. "Then today," he said. The climb south was easier. The storm had cleared the paths, and sunlight cut through the fir canopy. They worked side by side without hesitation, like a pair that had been bonded for years. Nayland measured angles and distance. Arden set anchors deeper into the soil. Every marker installed was a message to the ridge. "We fix what you rely on. We protect what you claim. We belong." Halfway through the route, Nayland paused and stared out over the valley below. A green expanse stretched between cliffs, waiting for spring thaw, waiting for new seasons, new families, new maps. She pressed a hand over her flat stomach, imagining what might grow there one day, not as a burden or survival strategy, but as a chosen part of life. Arden walked up behind her, silent but present, his warmth at her back. "If a child comes," she said quietly, "they'll see both worlds from up here." Arden breathed out slow, "and they'll never doubt where they belong." She looked up at him. He looked back with certainty so strong it pulled the ground steadier beneath her feet. "We should celebrate tonight," he said. "Properly." "With what?" she asked. "With everything that says home," he replied. They returned at dusk, boots lightly coated in frost. The stove was the first thing Arden tended. Warmth always came before comfort in his priorities. Nayland laid out the bread, glaze shining under the lamplight, and slices of ridge boar they'd saved for something worth celebrating. When the meal was ready, they sat close, knees touching, not because space was limited, but because they chose closeness every chance they got. They ate. They talked. They laughed at a joke about Arden's suspiciously neat handwriting. They planned tomorrow's work, as we, not you and I. After dinner, he took her hand again, no hesitation, and led her to the bed. No fear in either of them now, just desire, clarity, and trust. Their intimacy that night wasn't rushed or born from cold or uncertainty. It was the kind of closeness that arrives when two people believe in tomorrow, when every touch is a promise, when every breath shared is a future being built. Later, Nayland lay against him, warm and settled. She pressed his palm back over her stomach. "Someday soon," she whispered. Arden kissed her forehead once, slow and deliberate. "Whenever you're ready," he said. She closed her eyes with a small, peaceful smile. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't surviving. She was living. And in the quiet warmth of their home, with boundaries restored and futures chosen, Nayland knew without doubt. They had already reached spring.